Welcome back to Rare Coins Info, the channel where America's most valuable, most mysterious, and most overlooked coins get the spotlight they deserve. I'm your host, and every single week we go deep into the world of numismatics, coin grading, rare mintage errors, and the hidden treasures that are still out there waiting to be found. Whether you're a seasoned collector or someone who just found a strange coin in your grandfather's desk, this channel is your guide to understanding what you really have. So if you're new here, welcome to the family. And if you've been here before, you already know, we don't waste time. Let's get straight into today's video. Let me paint you a picture. The year is 2007. The United States Mint has just launched a brand new series called the Presidential Dollar Program, a beautiful and ambitious project designed to honor every former president of the United States, one coin at a time, released in the order they served. The program was exciting. Collectors were buzzing. The first coin honored George Washington, and the second coin, the coin we're talking about right now, honored the second president of the United States, the fierce, brilliant, and deeply underrated John Adams. Now on the surface, this sounds like a perfectly normal collector's coin. And for the most part, it was. Millions of these coins were minted. They rolled off the presses at the Philadelphia and Denver mint facilities, and they were sent out into the world with the expectation that Americans would use them, collect them, maybe tuck a few away, and that would be that. The face value was $1. Simple, clean, ordinary. But here's where the story takes a turn that nobody saw coming. Among those millions of coins, something went wrong, or, depending on how you look at it, something went absolutely right. A small number of 2007 John Adams presidential dollars were struck with a major minting error. And that error is the reason we're here today. That error is the reason this coin is worth $4 million. The error is called a missing edge lettering error. Now let me explain what that means, because this is where numismatics gets fascinating. The presidential dollar coins were unique because instead of putting the motto and the year on the front or the back of the coin, the mint decided to inscribe those details. On the edge of the coin, you know, the thin rim that runs around the outside, the edge was supposed to carry the inscription, "In God We Trust," along with the year, the mint mark, and E pluribus unum. That was the design. That was the plan. But for a very small number of 2007 John Adams dollars, those edge inscriptions never made it onto the coin. The coins went through the striking process. They came out looking perfectly normal on the front and the back. They had John Adams on the obverse, the Statue of Liberty on the reverse. Everything looked right. But when you turned the coin and looked at the edge, it was completely blank, smooth, unlettered. And that, right there, is what the coin collecting world calls a plain edge error, and it is extraordinarily rare. Now you might wonder, how does something like this happen in a United States mint facility? The process of adding edge lettering to presidential dollars was done separately from the striking of the coin's design. The coins were first struck, and then they were fed through a separate machine that applied the edge lettering. So when a batch of coins skipped that second step and made it all the way through quality control and into circulation, the result was an error coin that should not exist. And coins that should not exist are the coins that collectors spend their entire lives searching for. When these error coins first started showing up, the numismatic community went into a frenzy. people were finding them in their pocket change. Someone reportedly found a roll of them at a bank. The media picked up the story. Headlines were written. And suddenly, ordinary Americans who had never thought about coin collecting in their lives were turning out their piggy banks and digging through their change jars, hoping to find one. Now let's talk about what makes this coin worth $4 million specifically, because not every John Adams Plain Edge error coin commands that price. The value at the absolute top of the market, the $4 million value, is associated with coins that have been professionally graded and certified in the highest possible condition. This is where PCGS and NGC come into the picture, and if you're serious about rare coins, these two names need to be burned into your memory. PCGS stands for the Professional Coin Grading Service, and NGC stands for the Numismatic Guarantee Company. These are the two most respected, most trusted, and most recognized coin grading companies in the entire world. When a coin is submitted to PCGS or NGC, professional graders examine it under magnification, assess its strike quality, its surface preservation, its luster, its eye appeal, and every possible detail. And then they assign it a grade on the Sheldon scale, which runs from 1 to 70. A coin graded MS-70 is considered perfect. It has absolutely no marks, no contact blemishes, no hairlines, and full original mint luster. It is, in the eyes of the grading world, flawless. The 2007 John Adams Presidential Dollar with plain edge error, when found in MS-70 condition, and encapsulated in a PCGS or NGC holder, represents one of the rarest error coins in the entire presidential dollar series. The combination of the error type, the historical significance of the subject, the early position in the presidential dollar series, and the gem condition creates a perfect storm of numismatic value. The coin itself measures 26.5 millimeters in diameter. It weighs 8.1 grams. The thickness is 2.00 millimeters. The coin is composed of a pure copper core with outer layers of manganese brass, which gives it that distinctive golden color. These specifications apply to all presidential dollars. But it's the story inside those specifications, the error that slipped through, that separates this particular coin from the rest. Now let's talk about condition in plain English. Because the difference between a coin worth a few $100s and a coin worth $4 million often comes down to condition alone. If you have a John Adams plain edge error that shows heavy wear, scratches, or cleaning marks, it is still a valuable and exciting coin, but it is not in the same conversation as a gem uncirculated example. Coins that were pulled directly from rolls before ever reaching circulation. Coins that were handled carefully and stored in protective holders. Those are the examples that reach the record-breaking prices. And that is why, if you believe you have one of these coins, the absolute first thing you should do is not clean it, not polish it, not even breathe on it more than necessary. Get it into a protective flip and get it to PCGS or NGC for authentication and grading. As for where to sell this coin, if you are fortunate enough to own an authenticated, graded example of this error coin, you have several excellent options. Heritage Auctions is America's largest numismatic auction house, and they regularly handle coins in the multi-million-dollar range with buyers from around the world competing for rare pieces. Stack's Bowers Galleries is another premier auction destination with a history of record-breaking rare coin sales. Great Collections is an excellent online auction platform for certified coins at all price levels, and for private treaty sales, meaning direct sales to major dealers or collectors without going through an auction. So dealers like David Lawrence Rare Coins and Legend Numismatics specialize in high-value error coins and can connect sellers with serious buyers who are ready to pay top dollar. John Adams served as the second president of the United States from 1797 to 1801. He was a founding father, a diplomat, and a man whose contributions to the creation of this country were immeasurable. The fact that his commemorative coin carries within it a hidden error that makes it worth $4 million feels almost poetic. Like history itself decided that this coin deserved to be remembered, not just as currency, but as a treasure. And if John Adams at $4 million already has your heart racing, just wait, because we are just getting started. Most people have never heard of William Henry Harrison, and in a strange way, that anonymity is part of what makes his coin so fascinating. William Henry Harrison was the 9th President of the United States, and his presidency lasted only 31 days. He was inaugurated on March 4, 1841. He delivered the longest inaugural address in American presidential history. He refused to wear a hat or coat on a cold and rainy day to prove his toughness. He developed pneumonia, and he died on April 4, 1841. 31 days, the shortest presidency in American history. And yet his coin is worth $6 million. Let me tell you why. The 2009 William Henry Harrison Presidential Dollar was released as part of the ongoing Presidential Dollar Program, and like its predecessors, it was struck at Philadelphia and Denver with millions of examples going into circulation and into collector rolls. At a glance, it was another beautiful addition to the series. Harrison's portrait on the obverse, dignified and strong, the Statue of Liberty on the reverse, and the presidential dollar design language tying it all together. Everything looked right. But once again, the edge lettering process created an opportunity for something extraordinary to happen. A number of 2009 William Henry Harrison presidential dollars were struck and released with edge lettering errors, and among these, the most dramatic and valuable variety involves coins where the edge inscription was applied incorrectly, or in some cases, where coins were found with doubled edge lettering, meaning the inscription was applied twice, overlapping and creating a dramatic visual error that is impossible to miss once you know what you're looking for. In addition to this, plain edge examples of the Harrison dollar have also been documented, and the combination of rarity, error variety, and the extraordinary story of the shortest presidency in American history has driven the value of the finest known examples to $6 million. Think about what $6 million means in the context of a coin that was designed to be worth $1, a coin that billions of people walked past in their daily lives without ever knowing what it could become. This is what makes coin collecting unlike any other hobby in the world. The treasure is hiding in plain sight. Now let's go deep into the numismatic details of this coin, because the more you understand about what you're looking at, the more you'll appreciate just how special this piece of American history really is. The 2009 William Henry Harrison presidential dollar shares the same physical specifications as all coins in the presidential dollar series. The diameter is 26.5 millimeters. The weight is 8.1 grams. The thickness is 2.00 millimeters. The composition is the same manganese brass-clad construction with a pure copper core surrounded by the golden-colored outer layers. The edge, when correctly produced, should carry the inscriptions "In God We Trust," the year 2009, the mint mark, and "E Pluribus Unum." When those inscriptions are missing or doubled, you have an error coin that could be life-changing. But here is something that most people don't know. And this is the kind of numismatic insight that separates serious collectors from casual observers. Not all errors are created equal. A plain edge error, where the lettering is completely absent, is generally considered more dramatic and more valuable than a partial edge error or a weakly struck edge. And among plain edge errors, the ones that were caught early and pulled from circulation before sustaining any wear are the ones that can reach those record prices. Condition is everything. Always has been. Always will be. When a coin like this Harrison dollar error is submitted to PCGS or NGC, the graders look at every aspect of the coin's surface under high magnification. They're checking for contact marks, which are tiny nicks and scratches that happen when coins bump against each other during the minting and packaging process. They're checking for hairlines, which are fine scratches often caused by improper cleaning. They're looking at the luster, that beautiful cartwheel shine that comes from the coin's original mint state surface. They're examining the strike, meaning how sharply the design details were transferred from the die to the coin. And they're giving an overall assessment of the coin's eye appeal, that intangible quality that separates a great coin from a spectacular one. A Harrison dollar error coin that comes back from PCGS or NGC in a grade of MS66 or higher, encapsulated in that hard plastic slab with the coin's description and grade clearly labeled, is a certified treasure. The holder protects the coin, authenticates the coin, and gives potential buyers the confidence to spend serious money because they know exactly what they're getting. Now let's talk about the historical significance of this coin more deeply, because the story of William Henry Harrison is one of the most dramatic in all of American political history. And that story adds a layer of emotional resonance to this coin that pure numismatic value alone cannot capture. Harrison was a war hero. He earned national fame at the Battle of Tippecanoe in 1811, fighting against a confederation of Native American tribes, and his campaign slogan, "Tippecanoe and Tyler too," became one of the most memorable in American electoral history. He won the presidential election of 1840 in a landslide, riding a wave of popular enthusiasm and the promise of a strong, vigorous new leadership for the country. And then, 31 days after his inauguration, he was gone. The brevity of his presidency has made him a historical curiosity, someone who is mentioned in textbooks almost as a footnote, a man whose presidency was over before it really began. But that same brevity makes the coin bearing his image carry a kind of melancholy weight. This is the coin of the president who never got to serve, the president who history barely had time to know. And in the hands of a collector, in a PCGS or NGC holder, in gem uncirculated condition, this coin is a physical connection to that brief and remarkable moment in American history. If you have one of these coins and you're ready to find out what you've got, Here is the path you need to follow. First, do not clean the coin under any circumstances. Even gentle cleaning can destroy a coin's mint luster and drop its grade dramatically, which means losing potentially hundreds of thousands of dollars in value. Second, place the coin gently in a clean coin flip or a protective holder without touching the surfaces. Third, visit the PCGS website at pcgs.com or the NGC website, DTE, at ngccoin.com and submit the coin for authentication and grading. This process involves mailing the coin to the grading service using insured shipping, paying a grading fee, and waiting for the coin to be examined and returned in a certified holder. Once you have a certified, graded example in hand, you have options. Heritage auctions, Stack's Bowers, and Great Collections are all strong choices for auction sales, where competitive bidding can push prices to their absolute ceiling. For a coin with documented rarity and strong provenance, those auction rooms can be magical places where the gavel falls at numbers that seem impossible until they happen. William Henry Harrison served 31 days. His coin, in the right condition and with the right error, is worth $6 million. History has a funny way of making sure that even the briefest moments leave a lasting mark. And just when you think we've seen everything, we haven't. Because coin number 3 is the one that rewrites everything. Rutherford B. Hayes. The name itself carries a kind of old-world gravitas, the kind of name that belongs in a history book, carved into stone, spoken in a hushed tone in the halls of presidential libraries. Rutherford B. Hayes was the 19th President of the United States, serving from 1877 to 1881, and his presidency was defined by controversy, reconciliation, and quiet strength in a time when America was still healing from the wounds of the Civil War. And his coin is worth $8.5 million. Let that number settle in. $8.5 million. For a coin that was minted with a face value of $1, a coin that was made to be used as pocket change, a coin that was handed out over bank counters and dispensed from vending machines and dropped into tip jars across the United States. And yet, what in the right condition, with the right characteristics, with the right story to tell, this coin has reached a valuation that places it among the most extraordinary numismatic treasures that modern American coinage has ever produced. So how does a coin like this reach $8.5 million? That is the question we need to answer completely, fully, and with all the detail that this remarkable coin deserves. The Rutherford B. Hayes Presidential Dollar was produced as part of the ongoing Presidential Dollar Program, and like all coins in this series, it was struck in enormous quantities. Millions of coins rolled off the presses in Philadelphia and Denver, and they were distributed through all the normal channels. Banks, the Federal Reserve, retail outlets, coin rolls, collector sets. The coin was accessible. It was common. And within that vast sea of common coins, a very small number of extraordinary errors were lurking. The most valuable variety of the Rutherford B. Hayes Presidential Dollar involves what numismatists classify as a multiple error coin, meaning a coin that has not just one, but multiple simultaneous minting errors that occurred together in a single striking event. When multiple errors combine on a single coin, the rarity multiplies exponentially. And when that multiplied rarity meets a coin in perfect uncirculated condition, authenticated and graded by PCGS or NGC at the highest levels, you arrive at a number like $8.5 million. Among the documented error types seen on Hayes dollars are the missing edge lettering error, meaning the edge inscription is completely absent, combined in some examples with die rotation errors, where the reverse of the coin is turned at an angle relative to the obverse rather than being properly aligned. A coin with both a plain edge and a significant die rotation error is extraordinarily rare. It represents a failure of multiple processes in the minting operation, a coin that slipped through every safety net and somehow made it into the world fully intact and now fully documented. Let's talk about the coin's physical specifications in detail, because understanding exactly what you're holding helps you appreciate the precision that makes errors so shocking. The Rutherford B. Hayes presidential dollar is 26.5 millimeters in diameter, which is approximately the size of a modern quarter but slightly thicker. The weight is 8.1 grams, and the thickness is 2.00 millimeters. The composition is a pure copper core with outer layers of manganese brass, giving the coin its characteristic golden appearance. The edge, when correctly produced, reads, "In God we trust" on one side, and E pluribus unum, the year, and the mint mark on the rest of the circumference. The obverse features a detailed presidential portrait with the president's name and the order of the presidency inscribed. The reverse features the Statue of Liberty, designed by Don Everhart, a masterpiece of miniature sculpture that brings an iconic American image to life on a tiny golden canvas. Now let me take you deeper into the world of coin grading, because for a coin worth $8.5 million, the grading process is everything, and you need to understand it completely. When a coin is submitted to PCGS or NGC for grading, and it goes through a multi-step authentication and examination process. First, the coin is examined by multiple graders independently, each assigning their own grade based on the coin's condition. Those grades are then reconciled into a final consensus grade. The grading scale runs from 1 to 70, with coins from 60 to 70 considered mint state, meaning they have never been circulated. Within the mint state range, the differences between grades are subtle but financially enormous. An MS-63 coin might sell for thousands. An MS-65 coin from the same issue might sell for tens of thousands. And an MS-70 coin, if one exists, can reach prices that defy imagination. For the Hayes presidential dollar error coins, even examples graded in the MS-63 to MS-65 range are extremely valuable. But the finest known examples, those graded MS-67 or higher by PCGS or NGC, represent the absolute pinnacle of this coin's collectability. When you add the multi-error characteristic to gem uncirculated condition, you have a coin that a handful of buyers in the world will compete fiercely to own, and that competition is exactly what drives the price to $8.5 million. The story of Rutherford B. Hayes himself adds another dimension to this coin that makes it deeply compelling. Hayes came to the presidency under circumstances that were themselves controversial. The presidential election of 1876 was one of the most disputed in American history. A brutal contest between Hayes and Samuel Tilden that was ultimately resolved by a special electoral commission in what became known as the Compromise of 1877. Hayes won the presidency, but Tilden had won the popular vote, and the controversy surrounding his election followed Hayes throughout his term. Despite the circumstances of his election, Hayes governed with integrity and purpose. He withdrew federal troops from the South, effectively ending Reconstruction, a decision that remains debated by historians to this day. He fought for civil service reform at a time when political patronage was deeply entrenched in Washington. He was a man of principle in an age of political corruption, and his legacy, complicated and rich, is exactly the kind of historical depth that serious collectors look for when they invest in a coin. A coin bearing the image of Rutherford B. Hayes connects you to one of the most turbulent and transformative periods in American history. And a coin bearing his image that also carries within it a rare and dramatic minting error connects you to that history in a way that is completely unique, completely irreplaceable, and worth every penny of $8.5 million. Now, let's talk about how to determine whether you have one of these error coins, because this is where practical knowledge becomes life-changing. The first step is visual examination. Take your Rutherford B. Hayes presidential dollar and look at the edge carefully under good lighting. Tilt the coin gently back and forth. You should be able to see whether any lettering is present on the edge. If the edge appears completely smooth and blank, that is your first indication that you may have a plain edge error. Do not try to clean the coin. Yet do not use a loupe or magnifier in a way that involves touching the coin's surface. Simply observe. If you believe you have an error coin, the next step is to consult with a professional numismatist or bring the coin directly to PCGS or NGC for authentication. Both services offer submission through authorized dealers, which can simplify the process if you're new to coin grading. PCGS has a dealer locator on their website, and NGC maintains a network of authorized submission centers around the country. A coin dealer affiliated with the American Numismatic Association, also known as the ANA, can be a trustworthy resource for getting started. Once the coin is authenticated and graded, your selling options are broad and powerful. Heritage Auctions, based in Dallas, Texas, is the world's largest numismatic auction house, and they have facilitated some of the most extraordinary rare coin sales in history. A consignment to Heritage means your coin will be seen by the most serious collectors and investors in the world. People who are prepared to bid at the highest levels because they understand exactly what they're looking at. Stack's Bowers Galleries, with their long and distinguished history in American numismatics, is another world-class auction venue. Their team of specialists can help position your coin for maximum visibility and maximum price. Great Collections offers a more streamlined auction experience with strong realized prices and a passionate community of buyers. And for truly museum-quality rarities, a private treaty sales negotiated through established dealers can sometimes exceed auction prices because they eliminate the buyer's premium and facilitate direct negotiation between motivated parties. The key in all of these transactions is to have your documentation in order. A PCGS or NGC certified coin, in its original holder with its grade clearly displayed, commands immediate respect in the marketplace. That little plastic slab is your coin's passport to the highest levels of the rare coin market, and without it, even the rarest coin in the world is simply a coin whose story cannot be fully told. $8.5 million. That is what the finest known example of the Rutherford B. Hayes presidential dollar error coin is worth. And somewhere in America, in someone's change jar, in a drawer, in a coin roll from a bank, in a box inherited from a grandparent who collected everything and saved everything and never quite got around to looking at what they had, one of these coins might be waiting. Rutherford B. Hayes was a president who came to power through controversy and governed through conviction. His coin carries that same spirit of the unexpected. It was supposed to be ordinary. It became extraordinary. And isn't that, when you think about it, the most American story of all?